The events begin somewhere with people standing as they wait for the green light. As soon as it turns green, they start walking. A girl then meets a masked man who tells her that their meeting today isn't a coincidence. He hands her an identification card and explains that his name is on it and that he's glad to meet her. His name is Guevo Santong. When she reads it, she exclaims, "Fortune teller," and quickly tells him she isn't joking. But does anyone really seek him out? He replies that no matter what happens in the world, people are always confused about their future. He asks her to try his services. In response, she tosses his card away, saying she doesn't believe him. After all, he can't know where she'll go or who she'll meet, since that's her own business. Suddenly, someone collides with her and she winces in pain as all her papers scatter on the ground. As she starts picking them up, a man appears from behind and tells her that everything has become a mess. She replies, "It's fine. These papers are just a resume, and I can always get another copy." He retorts that she's a foolish woman, referring to the food that's been scattered everywhere. She apologizes, explaining that she didn't mean it. He extends his hand, asking her to pay for the food. She tells him to stop because the green light was on, but then, as she suddenly turns around, the green light has turned red. Surprised, she says, "That's so strange. It was green just a moment ago." Then she blames the soothsayer. Looking for him afterward, she finds that he has already left. However, he is watching her from a high place while the delivery guy begins counting his losses. The delivery man explains that the meal consisted of 3 dishes, 5 fried sticks of bread, and 4 cups of soy milk, the total being 73 yen and 50 cents. The girl begins to cry, calling herself poor because she hurt her knee. He tells her he'll give her a discount and only charge her 73 yen. She grumbles, "Can't you be a nobleman?" To which he replies that payment is cash only. She then demands to know how he can be so rude, calling him delivery man. He retorts firmly that it was she who ran the red light. Moments later, the delivery guy rides off on his motorcycle while counting his cash, and she watches him silently. Before leaving, he turns back and advises her to be more careful next time so she doesn't bump into anything again. Then he puts on his helmet and goes, prompting her to remark that he's such a stingy man. She then begins gathering her scattered papers, reassuring herself that it's just an ordinary day and that she must calm down so her mishap doesn't affect her interview. The scene shifts quickly to an office where the same girl sits in front of someone. She introduces herself and tells him that her name is Xia Ling, a recent graduate with an architecture degree. She explains that she's hardworking, creative, and ready to take on challenges and responsibilities. However, the employee yawns, clearly bored with her pitch. A few moments later, she goes to another location and tells the HR representative that she was a member of the student union during her university years. In her second year, she received an outstanding performance award, and during her internship, she earned a good evaluation. When asked about her future plans, what she wants to become, and why she joined them, she replies that she wants to gain more experience from the job and become better. In another interview, she mentions that her hobbies are movies, music, and traveling, since travel is an excellent source of wisdom and insight. Yet she is met with indifference as the interviewer starts asking them what they plan to have for lunch. Soon after, she wonders in disbelief why her resume isn't landing her a job, despite being impressive. In a restroom at one of her interviews, she overhears staff whispering about how new graduates only have a certificate, boasting high ambitions even though they know nothing, with resumes all following the same pattern. One even remarks that if he were in their shoes, he'd rather work as a delivery guy, to which another retorts not to belittle that profession, since they might even earn more. Back at home, Shia thinks to herself that everything has failed and wonders if graduating simply means unemployment. At that moment, a message pops up on her phone confirming another interview. She feels a surge of hope, grabs her bag, and heads straight to the interview location. When she sees the name Rakshasa on the street, she remarks that it's strange and that she's never heard of it before. The moment she steps into the place, she feels a peculiar energy and comments that it's extremely eerie. She wonders how a company could be situated in such a place and almost immediately curses the idea. No company would conduct an interview so late at night unless they were human traffickers or organ dealers. Deciding to go home quickly, she loses her way back. When she checks her phone, she finds it's dead. Suddenly, she collides with a large figure who immediately starts attacking her. Before long, many people who look like him appear, and she thinks that she is doomed. Meanwhile, the delivery man is fixing his motorcycle and asking Liang about the key. When he realizes that some ghosts are attacking the place, he decides to confront them, while at the same time Shia pleads with the ghosts not to kill her. Our hero then appears, piercing the ghost with his arrows. He and his brother are just a few steps away. His brother warns him that there are many ghosts and advises him not to get too excited for fear of hurting the girl. At that point, our hero begins performing extraordinary moves and attacking the ghosts. Simultaneously, a little boy tells Shia that she is in a place forbidden to humans, a place called the Gate of Hell, and asks her why she's there. She ignores his question and inquires about the meaning of the Gate of Hell. He explains that it is a sacred street, a place where the souls of the dead are carried and where the ghost world meets the human world. Every sacred street is guarded by a sacred general, and his brother is the sacred general of Rakshasa Street. Our hero then announces to the ghosts that his name is Cao Yan, and that he is the sacred general of this street. At that moment, Shia recognizes his voice and calls him stupid woman, reminding him that he had warned her to be careful. She shouts at him, claiming that he's nothing but a stingy man. He asks why she always causes him trouble. She demands an explanation of what is happening and questions why he's there, even though he's just a delivery man who can't even ride a motorcycle properly. He retorts that her city is in need of repair, but she gets angry and protests that she was the one who got beaten, so why should she pay for it? He silences her by covering her mouth and tells her to be quiet because it's time for battle. Just then, a ghost approaches him and starts asking if he is indeed the sacred guardian of Rakshasa Street. Surprised that the ghost could speak, he tells it to watch its words because he was a general, he was alive, and therefore cannot be a lowly wandering ghost after death. The ghost claims he's come to seize the street, and our hero mocks the idea, insisting that no wandering ghost could take control of a sacred street whose mission is to protect it and keep the dead out of the human world. The events make it clear that Rakshasa Street is the most dangerous of them all, as it is overrun by ghosts. When our hero asks why the ghost wants to take over the street, the ghost retorts by asking if he should answer the question of a dying man. Our hero tells him not to be arrogant and soon launches an attack. The battle intensifies as our hero smashes the ghost against a wall. The ghost ridicules him, saying that all his moves are flashy but impractical, though he admits that his stick fighting skills aren't bad. At the moment when it seems the ghost might overpower him, our hero surprises everyone by blocking the attack and launching a burst of raging flames at the ghost. But suddenly, the ghost transforms into a fiercer creature, growing something like a snake from its arm, and resumes the attack. The battle escalates further, with the ghost declaring that this ancient snake is also a ghost, that their forces have merged into one, and challenges him to defeat both. At that point, our hero is knocked to the ground by the ghost's final blow, convinced that his bones have been broken. The ghost then proclaims that the street now belongs to him. He orders his followers to kill the girl and the boy. As they close in, Shia tells the boy that they are doomed, so much so that even the stingy man received the final blow. But at that moment, our hero regains consciousness and explains that in the ghost world, a sacred guardian is called a spiritual host, meaning he has a guardian spirit. Quickly, our hero summons Shu Chu, and a giant guard appears to announce that he is at his service. Our hero orders him to kill the ghost, and Shu Chu creates massive chaos, questioning the ghost on how he dared insult his master. After Shu Chu dispatches the ghost, our hero threatens everyone that they could all end up like their general. They all kneel before him, as he declares that Rakshasa Street is his. A few years ago, there was a little child sitting in front of the house. Soon, he overheard his father telling his mother that their little one didn't have any mental strength, and that he would probably live a normal life. At that moment, his father caught sight of him and called him in, grabbing his younger brother's hand. The events then shifted to the same child standing with his father in front of a large tree, where his father told him that he was the older brother, and from now on, it was his duty to protect his little brother, just as he protects Rakshasa Street. His father explained that Rakshasa Street had many dead people, and to keep them from turning into evil spirits, the general must keep the place peaceful. Then his father asked him about responsibility. The boy inquired what it meant. His father asked if he loved his brother, to which he naturally replied yes. His father then asked why, and the child answered, because he is little and soft. His father replied, no, because he's your family. He then told him about the sacred pagoda tree that was planted long ago to protect the ghost kingdom, and that their family had been tasked with guarding it since birth, with the names of all family members inscribed on it. For them, Rakshasa Street wasn't just any street. The boy then asked if it was because of the Screed Temple. His father replied, no, because Rakshasa Street is our home, and we are a family full of love. What protects us is love, and that is responsibility. The tree had the names Cao Yan and Cao Liang written on it because they were brothers, and so they would protect each other. Soon, a task arose at night for Cao Yan's parents, so they went away. Cao Yan woke up and searched for them, but couldn't find them. Then he heard his brother crying, which reassured him when he was told that they would return the next day. In the morning, our hero brought his brother some milk because he was crying from hunger. Days passed, and the little one's food ran out, so our hero told him not to worry, as his parents would surely come back. But suddenly, two men appeared. One of them said to the other that the house was a bit old, even though General Cao, our hero's father, once lived there, and he mentioned that the street was well managed when the general was around. Our hero woke up to that sound, believing his parents had returned. When he went out and asked the man who he was, the man hid him and told him that he was the parish priest of Rakshasa Street. The boy said he was lying, and the man then summoned his guardian spirit, ordering it to get rid of our hero by throwing him off the hill, because Rakshasa Street now had a new parish priest. As the guardian began to act, he said that our hero had mental strength. Then the new priest asked him if General was his father. Our hero asked if he knew where his parents were. The priest replied that they had left and disappeared. and that was why the policeman had sent him here. He shouted that this was impossible because his father had promised to guard the place. It was his responsibility. The man grew angry and told him that responsibility was a burden, and that his parents had abandoned him for that reason. He shouted that they would return because they loved him. Suddenly, the priest heard the cry of an infant and asked his guardian to fetch the baby. Our hero shouted for him not to go near his brother, and the priest replied that he would receive a reward if he delivered them to Guifo Santong. Soon, the guardian came down and told him that the infant had no mental strength. He then ordered that the baby be thrown out of Rakshasa Street because he was useless. Our hero asked why, and the priest replied that it was following the rules. Humans could not be allowed into Rakshasa Street. He said that his brother was young, and if he were thrown into the human world, he would die of hunger. He told our hero to thank his guardian spirit, who had saved him from being cast into the human world and facing stray dogs. Then he locked him up, took the infant, and left with his guardian. When our hero shouted, the priest told him that if he became a priest himself and worked hard, he might reunite with his brother. On Rakshasa Street, the priest hit one of them, ordered him to kneel, and declared that he was the new general and that everyone must obey him. He then attacked them with blows, telling them that it was fated for them to be slaves to the spirit host, and that was his rule. The guardian told him that his actions might lead to the multiplication of evil spirits. He then asked, "What will the priest do if the street is cleansed of evil spirits?" Meanwhile, our hero was crying inside his home and trying to get out. At that moment, the new priest and his guardian arrived at the edge of Rakshasa Street. When he tried to throw the infant out, he was surprised to see our hero snatch the baby away from him. He wondered how he had gotten out, and when he turned to the house behind him and saw it on fire, he said that the child was crazy and might have died. The child explained that he had promised his father to protect his little brother. At that moment, the new priest told him to think carefully about what he was doing, threatening that if he left Rakshasa Street, he would never survive, as he would end up as food for stray dogs in the human world. He said the reason he kept him was only because he was a spirit host, and offered to take him to the island of the dead to learn how to control the guardian spirit within him, so he could become a general in the future and protect the street. But our hero ignored his words and entered the human world with his brother, reassuring him that he would never let them part. Years passed, and our hero and his brother grew up together. The scene shifts to the present. Somewhere, Shia woke up, and Liang asked her if she was really awake, but she looked toward our hero, who was sitting in front of her. She exclaimed in alarm that it wasn't a dream, because she had indeed entered the gate of hell. She was told that she was in a transitional area between the human world and the world of ghosts, a place for lost souls with no salvation. When frightened spirits echoed back, she was comforted by the thought that she wasn't dead yet, which made her happy. But he then shocked her by saying that at the entrance of Rakshasa Street, there was a gate that no human could cross, and if anyone did, the general would use his mental strength to erase their memories. This was necessary to avoid problems. Soon he explained that although she had caused his motorcycle to crash, he would be careful while erasing her memories and wouldn't cause any harm to her brain. When she asked him to stop, he told her that if she were only a spirit host, she could cross the gate without him having to erase her memories. However, he didn't feel any mental strength toward her because she was just human. He then told her that he was the priest of this street, and the street belonged to him. As he moved closer, she threw her bag at him. He dropped it, and its papers scattered. At that moment, Liang grabbed a card from the soothsayer and asked his brother to read it. Our hero then asked her how she got to this place. She showed him the message on her phone, and Liang said it was from Guifo Santong. They began discussing, and our hero told his brother that he was surprised he didn't feel any mental strength toward her. Then she shouted at them, asking what they were talking about. Our hero asked her about her connection to the soothsayer. She replied that if he hadn't bothered her, she wouldn't have crashed his motorcycle. Her brother then said he was going to leave and asked her to follow him. After that, he rode his motorcycle and told her that he would take her home unless she intended to spend the rest of her life in that place. On the way, she mentioned that Rakshasa Street was very large, whereas she had thought it was just one street. He explained that originally it was just one, but due to population growth and endless wars, the number of souls grew so rapidly that the police could not fully control it. She asked, "The police?" And he explained that the ghost world was the destination of dead souls, and it had always been ruled by police officers whose task was to grant salvation to souls so they could enter the ghost world. While waiting for salvation, some souls lose their patience and turn evil, at which point they attack humans. To prevent these evil spirits from attacking humans, the police bring the waiting souls to a transitional area, Rakshasa Street, where there are thousands, with entrances scattered all over the human world. There are also countless priest generals, and priest generals are forbidden to enter the ghost world. They can, however, take charge of the souls on Rakshasa Street, because it was the place where humans and spirits coexisted. Soon she asked him about the monster he had summoned. Our hero called for it and explained that a beautiful lady wanted to see it. So, Xiaoju appeared, and our hero told her that he was his guardian spirit, a battle leader from the Three Kingdoms period, nicknamed the Tiger's Roar, because he was extremely brave and fierce in battle. Perhaps he became his guardian because he was of Kao's lineage. She asked in surprise, the Three Kingdoms period, he explained that the management of souls was done by spirit hosts, a system that had been in place for thousands of years. Some humans were born with guardian spirits, while others earned them through effort. Once one possessed a guardian spirit, they would receive help regardless of what they did, and once their strength reached a certain level, a messenger would be sent to persuade them to become a priest general, and as a reward, they could enter the ghost world immediately after death. Since people were fated to die and everyone craved a good status, they accepted this gladly, because even the realms of hell had different levels. There was a hierarchy in the realms of hell. The stronger the spirit host and his guardian's mental strength, the higher their level. Then she asked him what level he had reached. He told her he didn't know. Suddenly, ghosts appeared again, as Rakshasa Street was located in the middle of the hill's peak, and the closer one got to the edge, the more evil spirits there were. At that moment, our hero asked Shia to hold on tight, then sped off on his motorcycle, crashing into all the ghosts in his path. He shouted at them, telling them that he was Kao Yan, the overall commander of Rakshasa Street, and if they didn't want to become scraps, they should get out of the way. He then drove at top speed, scaring Shia so much that she started screaming, telling him that there was a wall and he needed to stop because the road was blocked. But he broke through the wall on his motorcycle and entered the human world. Inside, he thought that he had known everything about this place, yet he could no longer distinguish reality from fantasy. Suddenly, he stopped in front of her house, and when Shia got off, he asked her for 10 yen. She replied that he was charging her a fee again for giving her a ride, and she quickly paid him while calling him stingy. Then she told him that she believed Guifuo Santong was also a priest general, but he denied it and explained that he had been sent to the human world by the police. His mission was to find great spirits for the spirit hosts in the ghost world. When she asked about her connection to all of this, he pointed to his hand and asked her to read what was written on it. After she did, at the same moment, he had someone on the street read what was written on his other hand. The man reported that he couldn't see anything. When she inquired what was going on, he explained that this kind of message is called a psychic message, just like the one she received on phone, written with psychic power. It can only be read by high-level spirit hosts, which means she, too, is a spirit host with a high-level guardian spirit. Some people are born with guardian spirits without knowing it until the end of their lives, even if they sometimes feel a chill on their back or keep having the same kind of nightmare. In any case, he warned her not to go to Rakshasa Street again because he didn't want to have anything to do with Guifuo Santong. She reminded him that Guifuo worked for the police as a priest. Then she asked, doesn't he want a higher position in the ghost world? He replied that he was only a priest general because that's what he wanted, and it had nothing to do with the police. As for what would happen after his death, he wasn't thinking about it at all. All he knew was that Rakshasa was his territory. Meanwhile, Guifuo watched them from above, remarking that our hero was as arrogant as ever. A few years ago, there were two people when one of them urged the other not to slow down because the garbage truck was coming. They soon noticed their boss was in a bad mood. His colleague explained that it was because the goods were almost expired and hadn't been sold yet, so the boss would lose money. One of them opened some boxes and asked the other, why don't they just take those goods instead of throwing them away? His friend warned him not to mention that because he would get scolded. At that moment, our hero, still a child, appeared, opened the boxes, and said he had been looking for that, but then one of the workers attacked him, ordering him to stop. The worker threw him some bread and made him run. The man then shouted for others to chase him. His colleague told him to leave the child alone since the goods were going to be thrown out anyway. The colleague added, this is the third time, and if we don't teach him a lesson, he'll steal from our shop next time. We need to get back what he took. He claimed the child had already disappeared and that he had recently moved to the area, apparently living under the bridge on Rakshasa Street. Moments later, one of the workers found him again, this time with an infant. He soon learned that the infant's name was Atta, but then our hero hit the worker and ran off with the infant. Atta told him to stop because he hadn't come to catch him, then handed him some bread. Our hero began eating greedily as a man sat beside him, asking about his parents. The child replied that they were travelers. When the man asked if they'd abandoned him, he shouted that they would return. The man tried to calm him, saying he was just asking. Then he offered to take him to a place where there was no worry about clothes or food, asking if it was far from Rakshasa. The child admitted it was far and refused to go. Atta left, telling him to think carefully and meet him and not to steal from the shop again, because if his boss found out, he'd be in trouble. Later, our hero carried his brother and rummaged through the garbage for things. He found a toy and gave it to his brother. In the rain, our hero sat hugging his brother, and people began tossing him some money out of pity. That didn't last long though. A big man soon appeared and snatched the money from him, saying it was his territory and warning him never to come there again. Events moved quickly as monsters attacked our little hero. He defended himself and his brother, who screamed in fear. In the morning, our hero ran after a couple and stopped them, but when he saw their faces, He let them go and ran off. Later, he went to the shop to steal food. Ada shouted at him, saying if he ever came back, things wouldn't go well for him. Then it rained heavily, and passers-by pitied our hero and his brother for being so miserable and constantly wandering around. Soon the infant began crying. Our hero thought he was hungry, but was surprised to find he had a fever. He took the child to the hospital, where the doctor remarked in astonishment, "How have they become so harsh just for money?" He advised our hero to dress the child in more clothes. Our hero shouted at him to save only his brother and told him to bring his parents so they could pay the bill. The doctor explained that his parents weren't home, accusing him of lying because he was always seen begging on Rakshasa Street. Sure enough, someone must have asked for help. He took his brother and went to Atta, asking him to take them to the place he had mentioned because his brother was nearly dead. Soon, our hero appeared somewhere else where a woman helped him put on his clothes. When he asked about his brother, she said he was fine and urged him to eat his food before it got cold. Elsewhere, Otto was shown receiving money, and someone said that he was only being given half because the little boy was sick. When asked to treat him, Otto replied that treatment was difficult and the child might even die. At the moment they decided to dispose of the infant, they were startled to see our hero sneak up on them. He asked who they were planning to get rid of. Otto then asked if he remembered how he had stolen from the shop. He answered that taking things people no longer need isn't theft, confirming that idea. But he also reminded Atta that he only took the good stuff and left the bad. Besides, these people didn't want the bad things, so he would be the one to buy them, telling him that he and his brother weren't his property to sell. He was hushed as his words were cut off, and our hero was reminded that taking what people don't want isn't stealing. Soon after, our hero was found bound with ropes, pleading to be let go. The precious lady told him she wouldn't hit him as long as he behaved, and that she'd give him clothes and toys too, but he refused, saying he wanted his brother. At that, the precious lady's assistant commented that he was a stubborn child, who wouldn't stop because he didn't understand obedience. In another place, the infant cried in the rain while our hero begged for his brother to be rescued. The precious lady then ordered her assistant to explain things to him. The assistant said that his little brother wouldn't survive in such cold weather. Our hero cried even harder, and the man told him that he was luckier than others. He advised him to be obedient if he wanted new toys and clothes, and that he would even find him a new mother and father. In that moment, our hero remembered his own father, who had once asked him to protect his brother, as well as their sacred pagoda tree. Filled with anger, he realized his strength, paralyzing the man and preventing him from striking. He then switched off the lights, freed himself from the ropes, and declared that he didn't want a new mother and father, nor new clothes and toys, because he already had a family and needed to protect his brother. At that moment, the man and the precious lady screamed in fear, calling him Ghost. Meanwhile, as Atta counted money somewhere, saying he had made an easy buck, our hero suddenly slammed him against a wall and demanded to know about his brother. Then he used his super strength to blow up the hospital as he appeared hugging his brother, holding money in his hand, and ordering the doctor to treat his brother. Moments later, he sat by his sick brother's bed. Someone then asked if he was his guardian spirit, and he confirmed, stating his name, and that he was ready to serve the generations of Cow. He vowed that he would never stray from his brother and would never allow anyone to hurt him. At that moment, the guardian confirmed that he would follow every order. The story then shifts to the present. Xia remembers our hero telling her that she has a high-level guardian spirit. Later, she tries to summon her guardian spirit by standing in front of a mirror and commanding the spirit to appear, but she gets no response despite performing every random motion she knows. She then lies down on her bed, lamenting that everything has failed and that the guardian spirit story must have been a lie. But soon she recalls that our hero had summoned his guardian by simply shouting, and that it was amazing. So she decides to go to him and ask for his help. Grabbing her bag, she heads to the same place immediately, but as soon as she stands in front of the street, she steps back, remembering our hero's warning not to go to Rakshasa again. She starts telling herself that she's just stupid, that she doesn't really have a guardian spirit and is just an ordinary girl looking for a job, a boyfriend to marry, and children to raise. Soon, she dismisses the idea and decides to look for a job first. The next day, she lands a job, and when she returns home, she throws all her resumes on the floor, declaring that she no longer needs them, and even tosses Guifuo Santong's card out the window. At that moment, a creature appeared and said that a wave of psychic energy had been detected. It hacked into her window with its smart system and began analyzing her data. Meanwhile, she was busy thinking about what to wear the next day and rehearsing for her introductory meeting with her new co-workers. But as she got caught up in the rehearsal, a creature suddenly appeared in front of her, saying that her target had been confirmed. She barely had time to process what was happening before it grabbed her by the neck, lifted her up to the top of the wall, and started analyzing her data again, saying there was an 85% match. Suddenly, the creature fell to the ground, and behind it appeared Guifuo Santong, who told her that she was unlucky and offered to predict her fortune this time. She argued with him, accusing him of causing her bad luck. He replied that he had known things wouldn't go smoothly, but that he didn't want to mess anything up. She quickly insisted that something was off, and he reassured her that nothing was wrong. she had a guardian spirit, and these attackers wanted her. She then begged him not to mention that guardian spirit because she couldn't see any spirit. Suddenly, 2 more creatures burst in. Guifuo took off his cloak as if ready to fight them, and he told Jia to run to Rakshasa Street. The creatures tried to catch her, and Guifuo defended her. When she sprinted to a rooftop and closed the door behind her, even more of those creatures appeared. Still, he saved her at the last second and marveled that everyone was fleeing to the rooftops. He told her it wasn't the time for jokes, then ordered her to jump down. She hesitated, and he pushed her. To her surprise, she landed in something resembling a suspended elevator. Guifuo quickly cut the ropes, and she landed safely on the ground. He then ordered her to go to Rakshasa because she would be safe there. She ran as fast as she could, wondering what was happening to her. All she ever wanted was to be an ordinary girl. She didn't want any involvement with the Ghost Kingdom or a guardian spirit. So why was she being chased over something she'd never even seen? Would her life always be like this? Suddenly, while running, she heard the sound of a big car crashing, and people behind her started shouting for someone to call an ambulance. Elsewhere, someone remarked that they had expected what was happening. A few years ago somewhere, an injured man appeared and began saying he was the victim. The police officer told him to stop the deception and explain what really happened. He said he was wandering down Rakshasa Street to buy something when he saw a student and helped him cross the road because he enjoyed helping people. Suddenly, a child appeared out of nowhere and started throwing stones at him, and of course, he wouldn't argue with a child. Then the child's sibling showed up, and the officer asked if the sibling had hit him. He denied it, adding that the sibling had been with some huge thing, something he didn't even know, and claimed that it was that thing who did it. He kept insisting he was the victim. In reality, the scene then shifts to Rakshasa Bridge, where our hero's brother is counting money and tells him he never knew the student was so rich, and he asks when he can go to school. Our hero tells him to go to sleep, then starts singing to him. His brother asks why he sings the same song every time he tucks him in. He replies that their mother always sang that song until he fell asleep. When asked what she looked like, he says she was beautiful and that his father was strong and tall. His brother then asks if his father was taller, to which he replies that he was General Kidas and that he had a guardian spirit. His brother then says that he too could become a General Kidas, and our hero adds that he wants to become one right at their home. On the other side of Rakshasa Street, Liang sadly confesses he lacks the mental strength to go along, though he really wants to see the house he keeps talking about. He tells our hero that if he wants, they can go right now, and asks if he can enter there. Our hero assures him he can use his mental power and that he'll take him along. Liang then jumps for joy, exclaiming that they're going to the house. Just then, the guardian spirit appears and asks our hero if he's sure he will return. He answers that he thinks his parents might have come back, even though they don't know they fled to the human world, and they're probably worried about him and are looking for him too. Liang agrees, adding that they must be very worried. The guardian vows that he will do everything he can to protect them. In front of the Rakshasa gate, our hero stands holding his brother's hand and tells him it's been 4 years since he left that place. When they entered, there wasn't a single soul in sight. Suddenly, they witness a ghost attacking a woman. The guardian explains that this ghost is an evil spirit and warns them to be cautious, since these beings are not like humans. Even the weakest among them can be very powerful. He asks if our hero is able to defeat it. Meanwhile, Liang throws stones at the ghost. The guardian quickly rushes over and attacks the ghost before it can hurt Liang. Our hero then shouts at Liang, warning him that his actions were very dangerous, though he admits he was quite brave. After that, he checks on the woman the evil ghost attacked to see if she's okay, and then he helps the guardian spirit eliminate the evil ghost. The onlookers on Rakshasa Street watch the fight in amazement. Within moments, they start saying that General Cow has returned, only to realize very soon that he is just a child. Elsewhere, someone is kneeling before General Kidas, the one who replaced our hero's father, and tells him that a child, accompanied by another child, is the one who took down the evil ghost. He speculates that an old friend might have returned, so they should summon Guifuo Santong. In another place, someone announces that some humans have stormed Rakshasa Street, and under the general's orders, they must be found. The scene quickly shifts to our hero walking with his brother, who asks if they are going to leave their home. Our hero replies that he wants to guard the place, even though it isn't like the Rakshasa Street he once knew. This place is no longer their home at all. He then tells his brother they need to go search for their parents, and that once they find them, they will rediscover their home. At that moment, General Kidas suddenly appears and tells our hero that it's been a long time since they last met. He then remarks that life has treated him well because he managed to summon a guardian spirit, even though he finds it hard to believe someone so young could do that. Turning to his brother, our hero tells him to hide. Guifuo Santong expresses his surprise, saying he can't believe that General Kao has a son. The general confirms he has two, and when Guifuo inquires about the other son, wondering if he isn't a spirit host, the general replies that it doesn't matter. He then encourages Guifuo to keep up the good work. The scene returns to the present, showing Xia with Guifuo on Rakshasa Street. He tells her it's the safest place for her now. Liang soon joins them, surprised to see her back, and asks if she was alone at home. Guifuo explains that her brother went out to deliver food, and he wonders aloud because it's so late, guessing that they must be short on money again. Liang replies that they're used to it. Liang then pours tea for Xia. She thanks him and says he's a good kid, not like his brother. At that moment, our hero enters and teases her about drinking his tea and criticizes him, sarcastically remarking that she really is kind. Xia quickly welcomes him, and he reminds her that he'd warned her about coming back. She complains that she wishes she weren't in this damned place, and gestures at Guifuo, blaming him for bringing her here. Liang then takes her over to a tree, and points out his name and his brother's name carved on it, explaining that above are the names of their parents, and that if she looks further up along the branch, she can see the names of his early ancestors. A few steps away, Guifuo tells our hero that he thought it over, and felt that he was the best person to train her, which is why he brought her to him from the start. He complains that she's been causing him trouble ever since they met in the human world. Guifuo asks him not to be too harsh, explaining he really values their friendship. Our hero replies that he doesn't feel especially close to her, and that Rakshasa Street isn't a training academy. If he wanted to train her, he might as well send her to Death Island. Guifuo reminds him of the rules there, and our hero recalls that they only take children, and an old woman like her would be totally unacceptable. Xia then shouts, asking how he can call her old woman. He tells her she's over 18, but he doesn't believe she can control a guardian spirit because her mental age is under 5. She snaps at him to be quiet, saying she can always find someone else, and then Guifuo orders them to stop arguing. He then addresses our hero, saying that aside from the training, he still owes him a favor, allowing her to stay with him for a while. When asked why, our hero explains that she's being chased by the Kingdom Organization. Kingdom Organization? He repeats. Guifuo replies that he isn't sure if our hero has noticed that more evil spirits have been appearing on Rakshasa Street, and worse yet, their power levels have risen, all because of the Kingdom Organization. Still, the police don't yet know their identities or intentions, so our hero asks why he should care. Xia explains it's because he's a General Kidas, and he knows better than anyone else why she was chosen to be one. She adds that he doesn't care about what happens in the kingdom, and Guifuo tells her that the Ghost Kingdom even sent him an appointment letter. Still, he says he won't train Xia, calling her useless, troublesome, and too old, and that he's not her nanny. He argues that she can wash clothes and cook for herself, so why would she need a nanny? Then, he surprises her by insisting he actually needs a nanny. Soon, Xia begins working for him every day, waking before dawn, serving drinks, washing clothes, and cooking meals, while wondering what she did in her past life to deserve this job. Out of the blue, Liang asks why he always bosses her around like that. He replies that such discipline saves them from all the household chores. Just then, the doorbell rings and Xia appears. He tosses her the key to his motorcycle and tells her that starting tomorrow, she'll be doing delivery tasks for him. In anger, she asks if he can stop, arguing that her job is to wash clothes and cook, and questioning why she must deliver anything. He explains that he's busy guarding the street for most of the day, and has no time for errands, adding that it's a traditional form of training. She then asks what kind of training that is. Liang whispers that the Kingdom Organization is chasing her, and that they mustn't let her go out onto the street. When they ask what they're talking about, our hero explains that while her performance in chores and cooking is weak, her appetite is huge. She eats more than she earns. Because of that, he thinks she should be thrown off the hill to live among the evil spirits. She retorts that she's tired of him, and declares she'll pay him rent. He warns her that the rent is steep, and when she asks how much, he says it's 2 by 100 yen. As soon as she pays, she begins living like a noble, expecting him to handle the housework, all while he grumbles that he'll wear himself out working for such a foolish woman. He wonders aloud how he's supposed to guard Rakshasa Street under these conditions. Liang laughs, remarking that an eye for an eye isn't the right approach, and he guesses that the organization's kingdom already knows she's hiding on their street. They just haven't done anything about it yet. Our hero sighs that Rakshasa Street has its limits and can't be crossed so easily. Liang then questions why she's being chased by the Kingdom Organization. Moments later, our hero meets Guifuo and asks about it. Guifuo explains that she's being chased because of her guardian spirit, so he believes he's the right person to train her. After all, what they really want is her guardian spirit, and more precisely, they want the resurrection elixir. Our hero wonders if that's the elixir that can bring the dead back to life. Guifuo confirms, telling him it's better for him to train her because if she manages to summon her guardian spirit, he'll be able to obtain the elixir. He even has a list of people he wishes to resurrect. When our hero asks why he's helping them, Guifuo Gifuo reminds him that he once said he truly values their friendship. The next day, our hero tells Jia that the game is over and firmly declares that their training starts today. A few years ago, someone told a group of children not to stop and encouraged them to train if they wanted to become holy generals, saying that the guardian spirit's power and their own strength complement each other and that improving their power will boost the growth of the guardian spirit. Soon, this person announced some new arrivals, and one of the children said to his friend, "A new thrill is about to begin." They then bet on who would cry first and who would run away first among the new arrivals. After that, the trainer directed his words to our hero, telling him that regardless of the nobility of his origins, he had no choice but to rely on himself. No one could help him. Later, during a conversation among the older children, one said about the newcomers that they were hopeless and none of them could fight, while another remarked that maybe they were all too scared and would cry. Then the trainer stood up and welcomed everyone to the Island of Death, explaining that being on this island meant two things. First, they were candidates for the Order's generals, selected by the police. Second, it was their only chance to live, since they were all orphans. He then explained the rules of the island. At that moment, the older kids commented that no one would dare to escape after hearing the rules, and they guessed that our hero was trembling, and he would be the first to cry. The trainer warned them that if they failed to reach the required level by the age of 18, their memories would be wiped, and they would be sent back to the human world. One of the older children laughed and said that our hero was about to cry. To everyone's surprise, he suddenly jumped into the sea. The trainer then informed them that he had forgotten to mention that near the sea of the Island of Death, anything that falls in will keep drowning. No matter how good a swimmer you are, you will never survive. Therefore, they must not even think about escaping. There were only two ways off the island: either work hard to become holy generals, or have your memories erased and be sent back to the human world. Since the dawn of the Island of Death, no one had ever escaped. After that, our hero was pulled from the water and was wished a happy childhood on the island. Then the children started bullying him, calling him arrogant. In response, he tried to summon his guardian spirit, but they told him that the rocks around the island were made of soul lock stones, meaning he couldn't summon his guardian spirit. Then they attacked him. Soon someone mentioned that besides the two escape methods the trainer had mentioned, there was another way. When our hero asked about it, he was told that they could beat him until he turned into a spirit. At that moment, a girl appeared and told them that if the three of them did that, they'd be punished by having their brains washed and then sent back to the human world. They told her to back off, and she asked why they were so obsessed with the new arrivals. One of them replied that her brother had left and no one would protect her, but suddenly, her brother called her, and everyone grew frightened because he had a warrior's body, a true legend. Quickly, our hero stood up and asked her about summoning in front of them. She greeted him warmly and introduced herself as Ryo Yoshan. She asked his name, but he brushed her off. She then said people called him General Kao's son. When she asked why he wanted to escape, he told her to forget it. In response, she offered to help him leave the island. Somewhere along the way, Leo began climbing somewhere to escape with our hero, explaining that a person can have more than one guardian spirit. He asked if these were acquired through training, and she replied that they come from something special in the body. He then asked again why he wanted to escape. She explained that he had been forced to leave his brother in a dangerous place and needed to come back to rescue him. Soon they reached a high point and she asked him to jump down. He thought she was joking until she insisted he hurry, warning that if the trainer caught him, he'd never get another chance. She explained that he was now at the highest point of the Island of Death and could jump with the help of the height fall into the sea, where gravity would make him drown even faster as he reached the bottom, the real surface because it's upside down. That was her guess, but if she were wrong, he would die. She quickly asked him if he still wanted to try. After a while, our hero appeared, signaling toward one of the boats in the sea. The scene shifts back to the present, where our hero is training Xia and tells her that it took 46 seconds, then asks her to try again. She responds that it's good she managed 30 seconds considering she's an ordinary person. He reminds her that her goal is to become a spiritual host, capable of freely summoning spirit guardians, and that an ordinary person can hold their breath for 2-3 minutes. Xia protests that she's a girl, and her lung capacity isn't as big as the boys. He firmly replies that regardless of chest size, there's always room for the lungs, and tells her to trust herself if she wants to succeed. After a while, Xia tells Liang that she's extremely tired and would rather be a servant. He explains that training goes just like this. Even if her brother might act violently sometimes, it's not in her best interest. She adds that he is no longer on her side anyway, and quickly complains that she wouldn't look pretty if her arms got too big or muscular. Then she asks him for a training manual, so he quickly brings her the Kung Fu Bible. Suddenly, the scene shifts to Gifuo, who asks Xia why she's calling him, saying he's very busy. She pushes a book toward him and tells him that our hero is using a comic book to train her, and that she knew he was trying to trick her. He asks if that's all she noticed, and she retorts, "Isn't that bad enough already?" Gifuo replies that every holy general has his own method of training. Surprised, she asks if training with comic books is really a thing. Before long, she tells them she will resign and leave the place, and our hero tells her to take care of herself. Meanwhile, Gifuo reminds her that the Kingdom organization is after her. She declares she'll follow him then, because she doesn't want to stick around with the miser any longer. Gifuo explains that he's busy tracking down a criminal, so he doesn't have time to babysit her. Our hero then asks him about the criminal. Gifuo says his name is Huangfo Long, and that the Ghost Kingdom received a message saying he was wanted, so he was tasked with investigating. That's all they had. A name, no further evidence, and no one had seen him. He added that he would leave as soon as he had nothing else to do. Meanwhile, Liang tells Xia she needs to focus on her training, and our hero warns her that as soon as she gets used to relying on others, she won't believe in her own strength, because people who don't trust their hearts are the poorest cowards. No matter how hard they try, everything they do will end up being futile. That evening, Xia noticed fire starting outside and wondered what was happening. Liang explained that it was due to evil spirits, and asked her to join them so she could watch the battle as a kind of training. But our hero objected, saying that the area was too dangerous and not suitable for her, that she should stay home. Still, she joined them, and upon arriving they saw more evil spirits crowding onto Rakshasa Street. Liang asked, where did they come from? Our hero replied that they were from the Kingdom organization. Liang expressed concern over their rapidly increasing numbers, noting that every time they appeared from a different direction on Rakshasa Street, our hero explained they were testing their combat strength at each exit. Suddenly, Xia appeared beside Liang, and the two exchanged several words. He told her that her brother wasn't strong at first and used to rely on others' strength too, but he eventually learned that faith in oneself is the only way to be strong in this world. There will always be some people who are more exceptional than others, people they call geniuses. Even though everyone has the same basic physical structure from brain to muscle, these geniuses put in more effort than others. Scientists work hard intellectually, athletes work hard physically, and both spend extra time thinking about the goal they want to achieve because they trust in themselves and relentlessly pursue it. Regardless of the goal, as long as you believe in yourself, you can become strong, even using moves from comic books, because that is the power of the heart. The next day, while Xia was training, our hero told her that she could now practice summoning her guardian spirit. Somewhere, General Lo was standing as one of his subordinates brought him some new evil spirits, asking him to release them all because he wanted the strongest among them to be his foot soldiers. He told them that whoever could hold out in battle until the end would join him. Moments later, General Lo dubbed one of them the hero, and then summoned his guardian spirit to fight alongside him. The general's guardian eliminated that spirit and told him that the evil spirits were fiercer today than ever before. He asked his subordinate to simply accept them for what they were, just evil spirits beyond his control. He added that wasn't his main concern. He declared that the weak are always slaves to the strong, and that changing the times would only change the nature of that slavery. The more they are enslaved on Rakshasa Street, the stronger they become, because it is the hell for the weak. Somewhere nearby, a group of ghosts were hiding from General Lo's men. One of them said they had survived for another day, but sooner or later they would be caught. A woman then objected, telling him not to think that way, because if he became too desperate, he'd turn into an evil spirit himself. She insisted that he was right. There had to be some hope, because General Lo would eventually be replaced, and perhaps the next general would treat them more kindly. Soon, a boy appeared with a girl. An old man asked the boy if he was human, then turned to the girl and told her that protecting her was a huge responsibility. She would be caught because of it, and she might not be able to handle the pressure and could become an evil spirit. The boy replied that she was kind, and that he would protect her too. Meanwhile, General Lo was asking his guardian if the child had been found yet. The guardian assured him that there were spirits everywhere on Rakshasa Street. The general was amazed at how difficult it was to find a human child, and his guardian cautioned him not to get angry. Soon, someone told General Lo that he was very disappointed because they hadn't been able to locate the child. He then assigned another guardian to the task and instructed him not to let him down. At the same time, his spiritual guardian confided that the child would never survive on his own in Rakshasa Street, and he believed the child was already gone. He offered to stop the search, but our guardian objected, saying that he wasn't a spiritual host, so he couldn't leave Rakshasa Street even if he were dead. The child's body had to be somewhere unless someone was helping him. Soon, he protested, insisting that his brother couldn't have escaped, since no one had ever escaped from the Island of Death. Perhaps his brother had already died. Then General Lo went off by himself to torture the spirits, telling someone that he must have seen Kao's child. The man wept, but the old man said he was with a girl spirit in an abandoned building in the south. General Lo then ordered his spiritual guardian to go and bring her to him. One of the elders reproached the old man, saying that what he did was betrayal and that it made them no different from the evil spirits. The elder justified his actions by saying that everyone is destined to die, so there's no need to sacrifice anymore for someone who hasn't died yet. Soon, General Lo's followers found the child, and one of them happily exclaimed that they had found him. General Lo would be very pleased, but the child pleaded with them not to go near the girl. It wasn't long before the child started crying after being hit. He wept, wishing he were as strong as his brother. An evil spirit took over him and told him that he was on Rakshasa Street, where only the law of the jungle and strength mattered. Suddenly, our hero appeared to defend his brother. The evil spirit told him there was no chance of coming back that way, claiming that General Lu had already said he would never return. At that moment, our hero apologized for letting him down and quickly called his spiritual guardian to deal with the evil spirits. Afterwards, he apologized to his brother for coming back late, explaining that he hadn't cried at all since his departure and never caused any trouble. He had always been a good boy to his sister. Then our hero turned to see that sister and soon asked, "Are you talking about the mute girl over there?" He realized she was the one who had cared for and protected him. Liang then told him he had also protected her, praising his courage, and soon directed his words to his spiritual guardian, telling him he had become stronger. The guardian replied that he had grown stronger too. Liang began cheering for his brother's return and told the girl that he had assured her his brother would definitely come back, so there was no need to worry anymore, because they would protect her. But to their surprise, she did not respond. In the present, Liang asked Xia if her training was successful and whether she could feel her guardian spirit. She replied that she had summoned it, and when he asked what it said, she told him that it was simply angry. He told her that couldn't be right, because a guardian spirit usually reveals itself, since it needs to protect its spiritual host from something. She agreed that perhaps she had done something wrong, and then said she would ask her brother when he returned. Soon she asked him about him, since lately he was always out. He explained that he had gone out to inquire about something. Somewhere our hero was showing someone a picture of a criminal and telling him that he was the wanted criminal who had been missing for over 10 years. The man asked where he got the picture, and our hero replied, "From Gifu." The man then said that might explain why he'd been so active lately, but that was the work of the kingdom, and it wasn't his place to interfere. The hero told him that it wasn't his place to meddle in his affairs either. Before leaving, the hero asked him to let him know with a psychic message if he heard any news, and asked if he was leaving, offering to sit down with him, but the man sped off on his motorcycle, saying he knew that this man didn't follow any rules at all. Somewhere, a person from behind the system appeared, wondering how our hero managed to get out at a time like this. He quickly remarked that the hero was extremely careless, riding just a motorcycle. As he was watching through the system, our hero suddenly disappeared, leaving him wondering where he had gone. On the other side, our hero was telling someone that it was him who had continued following him. Then events swiftly shifted to Liang, who asked Xia if she hadn't slept because she was worried about her brother. She replied that she wasn't worried about that miser, but that she was anxious about herself and him as well. Liang then asked why she was worried about him. She explained that she had come to hide from the kingdom's organization, believing they knew where she was. He then asked if she was afraid of them raiding her place. He reassured her that it wouldn't happen because Rakshasa Street had boundaries that couldn't be easily breached. Yet, she confided that she had a bad feeling and wondered why the kingdom's organization wanted her guardian spirit, even though she couldn't even communicate with it. She guessed there might be an evil plan about to unfold. The wanted criminal who had been missing for more than 10 years had also appeared at the same time, and unfortunately, her brother was missing now. Could it be that the kingdom's plan was to invade Rakshasa Street while her brother was away? Meanwhile, Liang reassured her that her brother was out there. She told him he might be strong, but he was just an ordinary person without a spiritual host, and couldn't summon a guardian spirit to fight for them. Somehow, our hero managed to slip away from his observer. He then asked Gifu to show himself, and questioned why he was following the kingdom's assassin, instead of tracking down the criminal. Gifu replied that he was looking for the criminal far more than our hero was, and it seemed he couldn't wait for revenge. Our hero then said he killed his parents. Gifu stated that the police had said that, though he hadn't seen it himself. Our hero insisted that at least he should find him to know for sure. Gifu mentioned that the criminal had been missing for more than 10 years and asked how he would find him so easily. Before leaving, he told our hero that Huang Fu would only show up when he wanted him to, and then he would be found. Gifu quickly expressed his concern for Xia because the kingdom's organization was doing everything they could to look for her and maybe planning something new. Our hero replied that there wasn't much time left to train her since she was safe on Rakshasa Street. Gifu then mentioned that wasn't certain because the kingdom's organization was always testing ways to enter Rakshasa Street, even though they had no idea what they could do. Therefore, they should all be cautious. Soon, Gifu made contact with someone hiding through a system. The hidden person immediately recognized them, and Gifu told him he recognized them, even though they still didn't know his name. Out of courtesy, they exchanged names. Gifu then asked why he thought the hidden person would be interested in fighting him, and then asked if he believed Jia would be safe on Rakshasa Street. He was soon shocked that the hidden person had beaten them, and our hero was accused of negligence for leaving Xia alone. He explained that no one could ever invade Rakshasa Street without informing him. He added that he hadn't sent anyone, and that at Xia's location, there was a giant spider attacking her. Liang ordered her to hide in the house until her brother returned. He began using his skills, but noticed that the spider's skin was extremely thick. Liang quickly used his thunder drill blade technique, but failed, and the spider knocked him down. At that moment, a man from the organization told our hero that the battle was over. Xia had become his, but our hero ordered him not to be arrogant. At the same time, the spider threw its web over Xia. Realizing she was in trouble, she tried to summon her guardian spirit, but couldn't feel any psychic power. Suddenly, Liang gathered his strength and began defending her, managing to kill the spider. Meanwhile, events indicated that in the ghost world on the western side of Rakshasa Street, two brothers existed whom no one should ever mess with. One was General Flame Cao Yan, and the other was the man nicknamed Launcher Liang. Years earlier, Liang had been crying because the guardian spirit had struck the girl who cared for him when his brother was away. His brother told him that she nearly faded away because she had turned into an evil spirit. He replied that she was such a kind person, and that he wouldn't let her become an evil spirit. After all, she'd always been there for him, and loved him as much as he loved her. He asked that her guardian spirit be ordered to release her. However, the guardian explained that the spirits of the dead carry the memories and wisdom of their lives as long as they hold on to hope in their hearts. But if they turned into evil spirits, it meant they were completely desperate. Our hero asked if there was any way to bring her back. The guardian replied that all she had now was endless hatred. Our hero then asked him to end her suffering, but Liang's brother pleaded with him to leave her be, so the guardian left her alone. At that moment, Liang approached her and swore he would protect her, but she grabbed his neck and tried to kill him. Our hero then ordered his guardian to eliminate her. Later, General Lu asked the spiritual guardian why he was so concerned about these two children. The guardian replied that he only wanted them to understand how cruel this world was, that Rakshasa Street wasn't a playground. No one knew this better than him. Meanwhile, the general ordered that he personally go capture them, and by the girl's grave, Liang was crying while our hero said he never got the chance to learn her name. At that moment, the guardian spoke up and suggested naming her Xiaoro. Then our hero tried to wipe away his brother's tears, but was told not to touch him or call him brother, because he hated that and hated spiritual hosts and guardian spirits. He then asked, "Who are you to judge between good and evil, to decide life or death, and who gave you the right to kill Sister Xiaoro?" He then resolved to become as strong as she was. Even if he wasn't a spiritual host without a guardian spirit, he was determined to become powerful. He vowed that one day he would surpass her, take revenge, and defeat her. At that moment, our hero encouraged him, saying that was good because weakness was a sin, and in this place sins could only be cleansed with fists. They washed away sins and defeated enemies, so they all needed to become stronger. He then advised him to train. When General Lu asked whether the two children had actually left Rakshasa Street, the guardian replied that by the time he arrived, they'd just stepped out of its limits. He had wanted to chase them, but wasn't allowed to enter the human world. He remarked that they were indeed very lucky. Then his guard said he believed the elder brother had only returned to look for his younger brother, and that once he found him, he didn't think they would come back. The general commented that this made sense, and if they dared to return again, they would truly be sick. Somewhere else, our hero stood with his brother, who asked if they would ever return to Rakshasa Street. He replied they would, once they became stronger and reclaimed everything, because that was their home. Then they began training. The events returned to the present after Liang defeated the spider. At that moment, Xia noticed something and asked him if it was Mika. He replied that it was a mechanism with psychic power, and he believed that the killers who were chasing her worked the same way. She told him that he doesn't have a guardian spirit, although he's indeed strong, even though he isn't a spiritual host, and she wondered when she would be able to summon her own guardian spirit. He asked her not to rush, saying that she would be safe with him and his brother. She then told him that she couldn't depend on them forever. After that, she suggested he make her a Mika, since her guardian spirit ignores her anyway. He explained that Mika might be useful, but it can only handle some ordinary evil spirits, and it would be useless when facing a stronger force. In contrast, a guardian spirit is different because it can grow alongside its spiritual host, having limitless potential. Additionally, Mika has other flaws. For example, it can only be used once per summoning. She countered that Mika seemed like something great that could free her from training and trouble, since all she needed to communicate with it was combat power. Why then go through the trouble of summoning a guardian spirit? At that point, Gifu, who had appeared suddenly with our hero, told her that her guardian spirit was very special and wasn't necessarily summoned for combat. This means that if an understanding was reached between them, their bond would grow closer and closer. That's why a guardian spirit becomes stronger as its spiritual host grows in power. The kingdom's organization is after after her because they want her guardian spirit, and others might be eager to get it as well. She would only be able to utilize it when she summoned it, and she must prevent others from kidnapping it to use its power for evil. She told him that every time she tried to communicate with it, she saw a terrifying face, the same one she'd seen in her nightmares since she was little. No matter what she said, it seemed as if it didn't hear her. He replied that it completely ignored her, and he asked her what she dreamt of as well. She replied that there were some huge things. Meanwhile, our hero told her that it was because she hadn't tried hard enough. In other words, meeting her guardian spirit meant that it was ready to protect her. She insisted that she'd tried very hard. He then accused her of implying that he wasn't a good teacher. Soon after, he shocked her by announcing that from now on, he would double all her training. She remarked that he was just trying to tease her, but he said he had no time for that. When she asked what he meant, he explained that the kingdom's organization must have found a weak spot along Rakshasa Street. Thus, the manipulated Spider Mountain could reach the street at any time. He continued that he would fortify the border, but sooner or later they would destroy it, so she'd better learn how to summon her guardian spirit before they did. When she asked if he meant that the kingdom's organization would send more men to capture her, he assured her that as long as she was in Rakshasa, they would do everything they could to invade Rakshasa Street again. Meanwhile, somewhere else, an infiltrator was planning a second attack and said that this time it wouldn't be as simple as the spider attack. He then wondered who he should send this time and quickly thought of someone who could guarantee 100% success. But in the end, he decided to do it himself. As one of the top 10 knights in the kingdom's organization, he would never allow a third failure. Elsewhere, our hero was training Xia. In moments, they started bickering. Guifu and Liang were watching them. Liang said they were arguing again and that they really acted like cats. Plus, Xia was extremely impatient. Gifu responded that true strength isn't only about fighting ability, but also about patience. Liang then said he felt that Xia wasn't the only one being trained and asked why he had brought her to this place. At that same moment, Xia asked our hero why he could summon his guardian spirit without any gestures. He explained that summoning a guardian spirit requires a great deal of psychic power, something beginners struggle to control. That's why she needed to use these gestures to help manage her psychic power. Only high-level spiritual hosts could freely use psychic power and summon guardian spirits without relying on gestures. Then he asked if she understood what he meant and called her a stupid woman. Shocked, she asked how he could be so harsh. At that moment, Gifu looked at them and told Liang that the best way to become stronger was to understand oneself clearly. When you are weak and then get stronger, it's easier. But the hardest part is when you become strong, as you tend to become blind with a temporary sense of superiority. Therefore, the best way to see yourself clearly is to teach others. It's like looking at yourself in a mirror. For someone to become a king, he must make his comrades stronger. Soon the conversation continued with Liang asking if he was trying to make up for things from the past. He replied that he didn't remember much of the past, because the only thing that mattered now was enabling that girl to summon her guardian spirit before the kingdom's organization breached the border. Meanwhile, our hero told Xia to forget about training since she wouldn't master what she was doing, and she asked him for another method. He thought for a moment and said that she had told him she'd met her guardian spirit when she was on the verge of death in front of a truck. She confirmed that was true, and then her guardian summoned Cho and ordered him to carry her and follow him. She tried to run, asking what he wanted and ordering him not to come closer, but he carried her, and she asked where he was taking her. Suddenly, they arrived at the borders of Rakshasa Street. At that moment, our hero got off his motorcycle and noted that it was good, because no evil spirit would dare go into the middle of Rakshasa Street. Everyone just hung around the border. Xia reminded him that she knew that, but asked why they had come here. He replied that people in extreme situations are likely to reach their full potential, and then left her among the ghosts as he rode off with his guardian. She started calling him a scoundrel and asked if he was going to leave her alone. On his motorcycle, he assured her that as long as her guardian spirit had saved her once, it would save her again. Furious, she warned that she would become dead meat. He replied that if she didn't learn how to summon her guardian spirit soon, and if the kingdom's organization captured her, she would die too. She reminded him that her summoning hadn't worked with the giant spider yesterday. He said that it was because the silk spider could interfere with psychic power and that anyway, this method had worked before. As she clung tighter to his motorcycle, Cho ordered her to move away from him before speeding off, saying that this was the way he had learned it. Suddenly, she found herself surrounded by ghosts, and Cho disappeared as well. Then our hero began following her from a high vantage point. Liang told him that this method wasn't ideal, but she replied that it was the simplest way. Gifu asked what would happen if it didn't work. He replied that a stupid woman like her would only learn this way, and moments later, evil spirits attacked her. She began calling for help, saying she didn't want to die. Soon events escalated quickly, and Gifu asked both our hero and Liang if they felt what she was feeling. Our hero said he felt a chain around her heart. Liang then got closer and explained that it was no wonder she kept saying she couldn't connect with her guardian spirit since that spirit was sealed with a heart chain that it couldn't open by itself, preventing it from linking with its spiritual host. This meant she needed to break the chain by herself, without help from the guardian spirit. At that moment, our hero said they didn't have much time. Somewhere, General Lu's guard asked him if he still insisted on not training today. He replied that he was enjoying himself and asked him not to bother him with training talk. His guard expressed concern, saying he only feared that a long break from training might affect his skills. Lu reassured him that there was nothing to worry about and reminded him not to forget why they'd come to Rakshasa Street, because he was the overall commander here. Elsewhere, someone was beating an old man while asking if he still hadn't turned into an evil spirit, then kicking him and ordering him to transform. Moments later, a child appeared, and the evil spirit asked him who he was, while the child told the old man to step aside. One of the evil spirits recognized him and said that he was Kao's son. His companion replied that he was just a child, to which the spirit retorted that he was a spiritual host. One of them then asked if he had a guardian spirit, and the evil spirit quickly answered that he was strong enough already and knew martial arts. Afterward, the child firmly instructed him to tell his commander that the master of Rakshasa Street had returned. At General Lu's, someone informed him that General Kao's son had returned. He repeated in astonishment, "General Kao's son has returned." Meanwhile, the residents of Rakshasa were saying that General Kao's son had come back to challenge Lu, and now there was hope for them. Events escalated swiftly as Lu sent his subordinates to fight the child, only to be surprised that everyone was killed. He then remarked that it had been a long time since they'd faced each other, and that the child had grown much stronger. He told him that his soldiers were merely appetizers, that he was the main course. General Lu cautioned him not to be overly arrogant, reminding him that he was a general priest appointed by the Kingdom of Ghosts. As for the child, he was far from being a spiritual host. He quickly summoned his guardian Yan, but moments later, both were startled to see that the person before them was the younger son. Lu's guard wondered how the older son's power compared to that of this child, while Lu himself was incredulous that the younger child was now facing him after supposedly having grown up quickly. Then the fight broke out. Suddenly, our hero appeared and summoned his guardian spirit, astonishing the general, since he did so without any gestures. Our hero told him that gestures were for beginners like him, then added that he wasn't qualified to be the general commander here. The general ordered him not to be too arrogant. They began fighting, and the general marveled at how he had gained so much power. At that very moment, Liang went to place a flower on Xiao Luo's grave, and told her that he had returned, grown stronger, but was still not strong enough, that he would avenge her and become the strongest person, so he wouldn't have to fear anything. Soon, our hero quickly defeated General Lo and told him to leave Rakshasa Street since he had already lost, while the street residents said, "General Lo is defeated, now they can survive." At that moment, our hero took his brother and told him they were going home. The general wondered, why have they become strong now? What happened in these 4 years? His guard replied that during these 4 years they hadn't really focused on training. He sarcastically added, "They own Rakshasa Street, so why bother training?" and continued, "Those kids have no clue about the true value of this street." Then the two kids went to the tree that was still there, though it had withered. Suddenly, the general threw an arrow in front of them and demanded that they stay away from his house. One of them asked, "Why is it still here?" He replied, "Because it is the headquarters of Rakshasa Street and this is my land." Our hero answered, "This is his house." The general responded, "Looks like they need to fight another battle." Our hero said, "He lost the battle and is still here." Liang then said, "He has great courage this time," and insisted on fighting him. The general mocked him, asking, "You think you'll fight him?" Liang replied, "Are you scared?" While our hero ordered him to shut up, as his spiritual host was present. He then asked, "What's so great about spiritual hosts?" And the general quickly lost his temper, saying about them, "They're ignorant kids who cry about going home all day." Then he asked, "And what's so great about home?" He explained, "The real treasure of Rakshasa Street is the sacred pagoda tree. It shouldn't even be guarded since it's only meant for eating." Soon he ate from the tree, and Liang wondered, why is he eating the tree? Has the fighting driven him mad? Suddenly, the general gained enormous strength, prompting our hero to ask, why does he have such strong mental power? His guard replied, "It seems he knows the secret of the sacred pagoda tree." When asked about the secret, the general said, "The sacred pagoda tree can absorb the aura of nature and turn it into energy for itself, and if the spiritual host absorbs that energy, his mental power skyrockets because it's an extremely rare type, and that tree is the only one of its kind in the whole world. That's why I came here, to become a sanctified general. As long as the tree remains, no one can defeat me." Our hero then told him, "You're cheating." At that moment, Goyifu was sitting with our hero and explaining that the only way to unlock the heart chain was to have Xia eat a branch of the sacred tree. However, she opposed the idea and insisted that she needed to unlock the heart chain herself. He told her that to do so, one must have extremely strong mental power without relying on external forces, and under these conditions, there is no other way. He added that they still had time since he had fortified the borders of Rakshasa Street, so the organization couldn't enter easily. Goyifu then asked if they should just wait until the organization came and took Xia away, because he suspected he knew how dangerous things were. Our hero replied that the danger lies in gaining mental power by eating a branch of the sacred temple. At that moment, Xia appeared, and they asked her about the branch of the tree. They took her to the tree and explained that it was a branch growing from the pagoda tree. Once the spiritual host eats it, he gains tremendous mental power. Guifu told her that the sacred pagoda tree is a tree that guards all ghost streets. Its branches and leaves carry magical power. Upset, she asked our hero, "Why didn't you tell me that?" He replied that she didn't need to know anything except training. She then asked, "Who are you to decide that? All you have to do is take one bite from it." He told her firmly to stop arguing, saying that she was just looking for shortcuts to avoid training. He asked, "When did you ever take responsibility for yourself?" She fell silent, and he continued, "You always run away when faced with challenges and never try your best. You haven't ever put in that much effort since taking your college entrance exam. And besides, the heart chain is holding you back. It's only fair that you get some help." Firmly, he added, "No more excuses. If you only aspire to shortcuts, then remember, there is no harvest without planting." Shocked by his words, she replied that she was born with a guardian spirit, yet she still wanted to cut corners. Then Guifu said that the pagoda tree belonged to the Cow family, and he had the right to use it as he wished, especially as he was the commander of Rakshasa Street. However, he asked him to calm down and think before making any decisions. Events continued as Liang talked with his brother, saying he still couldn't forget the past. His brother asked, "How can you forget when everything happened because of this tree?" Liang replied that he indeed remembered, but every situation has both a bright side and a dark side, and it depends on who uses that power and for what. He then convinced his brother that Xia could control that power. Our hero asked, "How did you know that?" He replied, "I just trust her." Somewhere, Xia was sitting alone when Guifu approached her, saying he feared she might fall into depression and hurt herself. She replied that nothing was as self-destructive as undergoing training and hearing their words. He told her it was even simpler than that. She hated what she was going through. Every time she faced difficulties, she backed down and always relied on others. He reminded her that she had tried before. It was just that she didn't have much time left, and they never knew when the organization would attack again. He asked, "What are you going to do?" Since she wanted to be strong and not depend on others, he gave her a choice: run away or stay. "All the organization in the kingdom really wants is you," he said, "so you have to decide." Then she burst into tears, wondering, what if my choice is the wrong one? He told her not to worry, and left. Soon, Xia approached the tree and started thinking to herself that it had taken her 2 months to realize her mental power, so that eventually she could summon her guardian spirit. Before long, she would be able to unlock the chain. But it wasn't long before they were all surprised by the arrival of the kingdom organization and its leader, who ordered his followers to capture Xia. The story goes back a few years to when General Lo ate a branch of the pagoda tree. Back then, he grew stronger, and our hero told him there was nothing to be proud of. General Lo responded that the winner takes everything. This is the law of the world, and he would use every resource for his benefit and to achieve his goal. Our hero protested, saying it was unfair, but the general replied that the battle would be boring if there were any fairness, because injustice is what makes the world interesting. Soon, his guard was ordered to start fighting our hero. The battle intensified and our hero began to bleed. His opponent taunted him, "Justice is nothing but a joke now. You're nothing more than a mass of bruises," while he himself remained unscathed. Then our hero picked him up and asked, "Wasn't he arrogant before, wanting to reclaim Rakshasa Street?" After that, he tossed him aside and said, "Didn't he ask you to stay away? Now you have to get up and hit him." When he noticed his opponent gathering strength, he mocked him, saying, "You still haven't given up?" Our hero replied that he wouldn't lose to an annoying person like him. He kicked him with his foot and stomped on him, saying he hated him because he was just an arrogant kid. He then asked if he believed he could change the world because he was only committed, and added that the world runs according to the law of the jungle. When you die, it will teach you more about this law. At that moment, however, he received a powerful kick from Liang. Seizing the opportunity as the general's guard was distracted by Liang's kick, our hero grabbed his brother and ran away. Then our hero told his brother that he had saved him. His brother replied that he did it because he couldn't afford to lose to anyone else. Later, the spiritual host checked on the general and reported that he wasn't scratched at all because the pagoda branch was so good that he didn't feel any pain. Soon, our hero's guard was ordered to go kill the two kids and bring all the high-capability evil spirits to their side, since ordinary spirits pose no threat. His guard asked if he planned to use the pagoda branch on those evil spirits and warned him not to, because the branch of the sacred tree was extremely powerful, and if it fell into the hands of evil spirits, they wouldn't be able to control its power. But he threw the branch toward them and assured him not to worry because they wouldn't become stronger than him. Then he said, "The fun has begun." At the same time, our hero and his brother were still running with their spiritual host. Liang began to suspect that they might be pursued even into the human world, but the guard told him that evil spirits couldn't enter the human world, complaining about their constant escape. Suddenly, an evil spirit appeared and shouted that he had found them. Liang then used all his fighting strength, and our hero was amazed by the power of the evil spirit, saying he never expected General Lo would feed them the branch of the sacred tree. Suddenly, the evil spirits began attacking the ordinary spirits, causing a huge fire. Our hero said they had completely lost control and now only knew how to kill. He tried to convince his brother to run because the situation was dangerous, but his brother refused to listen, claiming he only pretended to be strong. Once his strength waned, he would run from defeat. He then asked, isn't he a spiritual host? Even though Zhao Luo had been killed, he didn't have the ability to defeat the evil spirits. The spiritual host then tried to defend our hero, saying he wasn't afraid of death. But Liang interrupted and compared our hero's strength to Zhao's. Noting that Zhao had exhausted all her power to protect him, he stated firmly, from today on, I don't need anyone to protect me, and I won't let anyone get hurt because of me. Insisting on staying to protect the ordinary spirits and guard Rakshasa Street, our hero told him he understood his feelings, but with his current strength, he couldn't do that now. In anger, Liang said, it's just that you don't believe you can do it because you're not a spiritual host like me. You think you'll never be as strong as me. But he promised that he would defeat all the evil spirit hordes. Our hero asked if he thought he was as bad as Lo, to which Liang shouted, he's disgusting. He asked if he wasn't a good brother, and then told him not to call him brother. At that point, our hero slapped him, grabbed him by force, and started shouting that he was a coward and a runaway. He told him that Lo was right because Rakshasa Street followed the law of the jungle, and he asked him to leave him alone so he could take revenge for Xiao. Liang retorted that a powerless person was meant to be trampled, calling him a coward. Then our hero admitted that only the strong deserve to guard Rakshasa Street, reminding him that he had promised to reclaim it and their home. At that moment, our hero remembered what his father had told him, and threw Liang into the human world, saying that guarding Rakshasa Street was his responsibility. After that, he returned with his spiritual host to fight the evil spirits. The scene returns to the present when Xia asks how the organization broke into Rakshasa Street. Liang explains that they opened the borders in the sky, although he's puzzled about how they managed it. Guifo suggests that they may have found a gap near a nearby street's border and used every trick in their favor. At that moment, our hero calls his guardian, Zhao Ju, and orders him to fix the gap. He then tells Liang that they came for Xia, so he must stay and protect her. Xia asks if fixing the gap is really the solution, and Guifo replies that at least would stop them from rushing toward the hill. Shortly after, our hero starts attacking the intruders with Zhao Ju by his side. Soon, another group from the Kingdom organization breaches the area, so our hero commands his guardian to go fix the gap while he handles the others. Xia grows worried and asks if our hero doesn't need any help. Liang assures her he'll be fine, and Guifo adds that she shouldn't worry because he truly deserves the title General. Xia is surprised by his calmness, noting that he lets him face the ghosts without concern, and then she begs him to go fight alongside him. Meanwhile, our hero fights fiercely, and Xia shouts to Guifo, why is he still by her side? He should be helping our hero. Guifo responds firmly, he never asked for help, prompting her to retort that she never asked to be a spiritual host either, yet here she is because of him. So will he shirk responsibility when a problem arises? Soon enough, he is thrown into the battle. On the battlefield, our hero gives it his all. Over by Xia and Liang's side, they summon their mecha and say they can set a trap for the enemy, to which Xia sarcastically remarks that he's way too optimistic. He then starts using his defensive fighting skills to create diversions. When Guifo sees this from a distance, he compliments him, saying he did well. Moments later, Xia is amazed at what he's done for securing the area, though he warns her that the space is only temporarily safe and that he'll protect her if they return. Events quickly stack up, and Xia wonders how long they will keep protecting her. Even with a guardian spirit, she still needs protection. Liang tells her that worrying won't improve things, and reminds her that her guardian spirit is chained to her heart. She's upset because he's just a kid fighting with a mecha, while she only stands by watching as they protect her. She wants to help but can't take a step, trembling in fear, which makes her feel useless. At that moment, our hero suddenly appears and tells her she really is useless. Instead of staying in the human world, she ended up in Rakshasa. She may be grown up, but her physical strength is weak. She stopped training, and she can't unlock the heart's chain. Because of that, she's truly useless and destined for a bad fate that needs to change. And to top it off, he calls her a dumb woman. Xia shouts, what do you mean a grown-up? I'm still small. Right then, Guifo shows up, saying the couple is fighting again. He tells him firmly, they're not a couple, then looks at both of them seriously. It's time to work. Even though the organization has stopped their attack, there are still borders that aren't safe. Liang remarks, that won't threaten them at all, and Guifo replies, still, he will go check it himself. Before leaving, he asks them to take care of Xia. Liang then wonders why there are 4 borders in the area. Soon, events unfold rapidly as a strange energy attacks our heroes. Our hero falls on top of Xia, and Liang asks if she's okay. Suddenly, a monster appears. Zhao Ju tells our hero that the creature has a powerful psychic force and explains that what they did earlier was only the warm-up, because now they're entering into a real tough battle. Meanwhile, Xia stares at the monster in shock, unable to believe it's actually on Earth. In the past, after our hero threw his brother into the human world and returned to fight the evil spirits, he was shocked to find that he had completely lost his power and had been beaten by ghosts, falling to the ground in pain. Still, he noted that at least his brother was safe. On the other hand, his brother cried and wondered what was so special about having psychic power, venting his frustration that our hero had forced him away from Rakshasa, even though he could protect himself. At that moment, while his brother was being beaten, He remembered his promise to his father to protect Raksasa and declared that he couldn't be defeated like that. But soon the ghosts surrounded him from every direction and dragged him to General Luo, who started kicking him with full force. Meanwhile, one of his guardians informs him that they couldn't find the other child, but will keep looking for him tomorrow. General Luo grabs our hero, lifts him up, and violently demands to know where his brother is, pinning him against the wall. His spiritual guardian then steps in to handle him personally, beating him further and reminding him that he ran away before and shouldn't have come back. In effect, digging his own grave. Our hero retorts that he returned because he had promised his father. Luo becomes furious and tells him that their parents are dead, and that Raksasa Street now belongs to him. He says he has seen how much things have changed today, so why shouldn't he surrender? Especially since he's transformed Raksasa Street into something stronger than before. Because of that, he should be happy, as the spirits in this area will only grow stronger. Then, he asks our hero to tell him where his brother is, giving him the choice of seeing his brother alive one last time, or not seeing any remnants of him when he grabs him himself. Confidently, our hero replies that his brother is very safe and can't be found on Raksasa Street. Furious, he demands his guardians explain where they found our hero. They reply it was at the border entrance. At that moment, a human smiles and asks if he thought he hid him well, because they will go to the human world to search for him. His guardian reminds him that spirits aren't allowed there by the rules, but he shrugs and says he doesn't care about rules. After all, he makes the rules. Suddenly, on the other side, Liang is surprised to see a ghost attacking him. The ghost lands a blow, and Liang starts bleeding. He then declares that spirits aren't allowed to enter the human world unless released by the general, and realizes that Luo intends to catch him, exactly what he wants. His plan then is to have his soldiers accompany him to Raksasa Street. At General Luo's place, he laughs happily, saying that the Pagoda branch truly lives up to its name since its power increased over 100-fold, and that once he captures the other child, he will show them real power. His guardian tells him he has taught them a good enough lesson. When asked if he worries about them, he replies that he doesn't dare because they're just kids, and he pities them. He then firmly reminds him to remember a time when nobody pitied him. At that moment, one of the guardians informs him that the other child has returned, and suddenly our hero sees his brother enter and orders him not to fall before he defeats him. In the present, Shia wonders how a giant monster like that was allowed to enter Raksasa Street. Then she asks our hero if the borders are active or not. He replies that breaking through them isn't difficult. Liang emphasizes that the monster is extremely strong, which is why the organization can overcome it. Shia questions him suspiciously. Could he be praising their enemy? But our hero explains that they're idiots and wouldn't break in on their own, so there must be a mastermind behind them. Before long, the monster gets even closer. Our hero declares that it's time to act. The monster then attacks, spewing flames all over the area. When it almost strikes a little girl, our hero leaps in front of her and saves her. Xiaoju covers him and cautions him to be careful. Meanwhile, Xia, who had been watching the scene from a distance with Liang, remarks that she assumed he was only protecting his own territory and hadn't realized he was also shielding people. Our hero then reveals that his brother had always been protecting the street, yet he chose not to admit that he also wanted to protect others. He acts harshly only because he doesn't know how to express himself. Suddenly, Xia notices that our hero is creating a deep gap in the street, and she asks Liang what her brother is doing. He explains that he's trying to pull the monster away so that it can cause no further damage, just like his brother, who protects the street at any cost. Suddenly, our hero jumps into the gap with Xiaoju following close behind, and even the monster seems to follow. Xia, impressed, exclaims that he really succeeded. Meanwhile, elsewhere, our hero appears with Xiaoju and begins fighting the monster. At that point, someone introduces himself to Liang as the direct executive of the Kingdom Organization, the Ninth Knight, Hill. He then greets Xia and tells her he can't believe she's a spiritual host with essentially no psychic power. Liang asks him outright what he wants, and he replies that he wants Xia. He explains that to see her, he had to break through 5 sacred streets. Because their streets' borders are extremely strict, he was forced to visit other areas, aided by weak defense networks along the borders that allowed him to enter Raksasa Street. Xia asks him exactly who these people are, and he adds, "Didn't the man he sent to your house mention me?" She, surprised, asks if he was the one who sent the robots to her house before. Then she states that no one ever told her anything, and wonders how he dared to come looking for her. He replies that she's mistaken. He came to catch her, not to search for her. Liang then reveals his weapon and orders him to behave properly, warning him that no matter who he is, he will not be allowed to take Xia. He mocks him as a kid, insinuating that his own brother might even be better. Regardless, he notes that he's already taken care of all the sacred generals and doesn't care about them. The last of them, Zuchong from Chili Street, was so weak, he wasn't even worth killing. Meanwhile, Guifo heads to the sacred area of Chili Street and asks what happened there. He requests help and explains that the Kingdom organization is seizing control of the sacred streets, not just his own but several others, and it appears they're heading toward Raksasa Street. He then asks him to notify the Ghost Kingdom because no one can stop the organization. Guifo leaves quickly, but calls him back to lend at least some help. While the battle between the monster and our hero rages on, Liang himself threatens Hill, saying that he might not be able to leave Raksasa Street. When Liang summons his mecha, Hill mocks him, saying he knows his moves all too well and that he doesn't worry about him. Shia then remarks that he doesn't look like an easy opponent at all, while Hill proudly declares that they have entered an era in which the Kingdom organization will rule the Ghost Kingdom. Several years ago, General Kao and his wife were talking. She asked him if he had made a new card, and he replied that he'd made one for the older brother because the little one was about to be born. He held the cards in his hand and asked for her opinion. She said, "Nice." Then she looked at our hero sleeping and mentioned that he had gotten so excited when he was told he would be an older brother. He replied that he'd grown up a lot and would definitely be a good brother. She wished they could all stand by him and guard Rakshasa Street together. Events quickly escalated. In front of General Kao, Liang shouted at his brother, ordering him not to pretend to be dead. Our hero then asked why he had returned. He answered that he was the only one who could defeat him and that he must wait until that moment. The general chuckled and asked if he believed his strength had reached him, then moved closer, saying he hadn't had enough fun yet, so he gave him a chance to enjoy himself without truly letting him down. He returned and warned him not to get too conceited because he would eventually overcome him. At that moment, Lo instructed his guard not to interfere before he began attacking the child and mocking him. "It's impressive," he said, "for a human to have gotten this far in the fight, but you'll never conquer me. You could never beat a spiritual host." In no time, he pinned the child against the wall, telling him that his mental strength had multiplied so much that even his own brother was no longer his equal, and regretfully informing him that his return meant his fate was death. Then he struck him for the final time, and the child collapsed to the ground without resisting. Our hero approached him crying, while the general sneered that humans were very weak. He had expected to have a great time, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Suddenly, Liang got back up, much to the general's surprise, since he hadn't died. The general chided him for his incessant prattle, wondering why spiritual hosts always talk so much. At that moment, our hero also stood up and told him that not all spiritual hosts were like Lo. Liang replied that this was his opportunity to defeat the spiritual hosts, but our hero shouted at him, calling him a troublemaker. Liang tried to shoo him away, but ended up causing more trouble. He told him that he hadn't ordered his arrival, and it wasn't long before the two of them began attacking Lo. Liang mocked him, saying, "Looks like the pagoda branch didn't help you much." But Lo quickly regained his strength and arrogantly asked if his father hadn't warned him that arrogance always comes at a price. Then he asked if merely chanting slogans would make them strong. With that, he declared himself the king. Liang then said he hated spiritual hosts because they believed they could do whatever they wanted with their strength, controlling everything, even though the only thing setting them apart from humans was their guardian spirit. He shouted at Lo, calling him nothing more than a weak spiritual host, grabbed him by the head, and demanded, in anger, to know who was weak. When our hero tried to defend him, Lo stepped on his back and told Liang he'd give him a chance to prove himself. If he killed our hero, he would truly prove it. He asked why he wanted to kill him, and the reply was that he hated all spiritual hosts. "Then where is your courage?" he demanded, asking who he thought he was. Yet he wouldn't listen. Lo then warned that he would use the Rakshasa Street rule, which erases the memories of any human who enters it, so that he would forget everything about his brother, except his hatred. He added that as soon as he killed his brother, his memories would return. He pleaded with him to leave, but it was too late. At that moment, our hero summoned his spiritual guard, and soon his guard erased Liang's memory as he watched the brothers bicker. Liang told his brother that he neither remembered nor liked him, insisting he had to be eliminated. Then Lo threw a dagger in front of Liang and ordered him to kill our hero, who kept insisting that he was their enemy and begged him not to listen. Yet Liang aimed his dagger at him. At that moment, our hero slapped him across the face and demanded that he wake up. Lo then began to express his twisted enjoyment of the unfolding events. Meanwhile, the two guards clashed, and Lo ordered his guard Yan to take out our hero's guard, as the battle between our hero and his brother raged on, just as Liang was about to kill his brother. When he nearly plunged the dagger in, he hesitated at the last moment, asked who he was, and then broke down in tears. In the present, our hero suggested to Zhaoju that they attack the beast from both sides to expose its weak points and bring it down with a single blow. Meanwhile, on the other side, Liang defended Zhao with all his might, urging her to be careful because the situation was very dangerous and she might get hurt. He told her to only worry about herself and not to be concerned about him because he could handle hell. As for hell, he taunted his strength and jeered that he expected something stronger than this, but all he did was deceive, so he warned him not to get cocky too soon. Then Hell whispered that he was very slow. During the battle against the beast, Zhaoju noted that the beast always seemed to anticipate their moves. leaving our hero to wonder how a three-headed dog could manage that. Xiaoju explained that perhaps that was why it bested them every time, because dogs have extremely strong senses of smell and hearing that they can alternate using to detect movement. That made him tricky to deal with. So what would they do now? Our hero said that the beast had lured him to this unique place, one filled with woven boundaries. He quickly mounted the beast's back and stabbed it, only to be surprised moments later when the beast healed its wounds. He guessed that perhaps it was a guardian spirit, healing its injuries with sheer mental strength, and then told Xiaoju that even if its limbs were severed, it wouldn't pose a threat, so the spiritual host must be killed, or they'd never be able to settle this matter. Meanwhile, Liang found that hell had overtaken his own mecha and demanded that he hand over Jia, promising to let him live until his brother returned. Liang refused, opting instead to face him alone. In the background, Xia stood trembling in fear. Before long, she glanced at the pagoda tree, and Liang, lying on the ground after receiving a blow from Hell, told her to hurry and eat a branch from the pagoda tree because he couldn't stop Hell on his own. The tree might boost its strength or trigger the guardian spirit's heart chain. There were many possibilities. He warned her that her brother would never forgive her and cautioned her against eating the tree. He convinced her they were in grave danger and that she needed to hurry or else she'd be captured by this man and become another one of his experiments. She then asked him to explain everything to her brother when he returned, and he promised he would, if they both managed to stay alive. She grabbed a piece of the pagoda tree and wondered how it was meant to be eaten. When she finally did, she immediately gained tremendous energy. Her spiritual guard appeared, and Hell was taken aback. Xia, exhausted, collapsed to the ground, and Liang rushed over to check on her. She told him she was just dizzy, while her spiritual guard began emitting strange energy from his mouth. She said he was incredibly fierce and worried she wouldn't be able to control him later. Liang replied that he was acting irrationally for no reason, and feared he might damage the pagoda tree, so they had to find a way to stop him. Soon, the guard poured all his energy into the pagoda tree. Suddenly, Jia noticed that ordinary spirits were being absorbed and wondered what was happening. Hell explained that the pagoda tree was a crucial boundary for all the sacred streets, and now that it had been broken, spirits would be absorbed directly, and the human world would also descend into chaos. If she wanted to live, she would have to accompany him. Just as she was about to join him, she suddenly noticed Liang. In the past, Liang used to ask his brother who he was. His brother would reply that he was his brother, yet Liang claimed he didn't remember having any siblings, and he didn't understand why he couldn't kill him. Our hero reached out his hand, telling him that they were brothers. Liang repeated, "Brothers," but soon his anger rose as he proclaimed that he hated him so much. Then our hero began reminding him of everything, even his training, and asked if he remembered returning from Death Island, the girl who had protected him all along, and the home they'd built out of salvaged trash. He burst into tears, admitting he remembered nothing. Our hero then extended his hand once more. As soon as he grasped it, Liang fell silent and suddenly remembered the pagoda tree. He then told him that he truly was his brother, reminding him that it had been a long time since his brother last called him. Out of nowhere, Lo approached from behind and shoved Liang, causing the dagger to pierce our hero's body. Lo jeered at Liang, congratulating him with grim satisfaction for having quenched his thirst by killing a spiritual host. In no time, our hero crumpled into his brother's arms. Then Lo's guard ordered our hero's guard not to resist, saying that his mental strength would vanish as soon as his host was injured. Liang then asked why his heart ached while, at the same time, he felt inexplicably sorrowful, despite not remembering anything. Our hero urged him to be brave and not to cry. He confessed that his head was filled with darkness, as if someone else were there, and asked him to keep talking about their home because he didn't want that darkness. Suddenly, everything began to come back to him. Our hero apologized for not having been able to protect him and for not being a good brother, promising that if they met again in another life, he would be a better brother. Then, closing his eyes, he heard Liang scream, begging him not to die because he didn't hate him. Lo bawled loudly, ordering silence. He apologized to his brother and wept even harder when suddenly General Cao stepped forward, attempting to strike him. At that moment, an overwhelming force and an aura of flames burst forth, leaving everyone wondering where it came from, and whether the child in front of them, also a spiritual host, could possess such immense mental strength. His guard, Yan, then remarked that in this state he was not an ordinary host, but soon Lo cried out that this was impossible and unfair, as if the Cao family had gathered every single spiritual host together. In the meantime, our hero's guard, who, like the hero, had been pierced by spears, spoke up and asked him where justice was when his master was killed. He asked in disbelief why he hadn't died too, since he talked so much. The hero replied that it no longer made any difference whether he died or not. He had failed to protect his master, but then he quickly remembered that he still had a trump card to save our hero. He opened a box, took out something burning, and said he was willing to sacrifice his life for our hero. At that moment, a creature appeared and told the guard that it had never believed that he and the generals had freed him. Since he had broken the seal at the cost of his life, he had, in fact, found a descendant of the cow family. The guard then said he had found the only person among the cow descendants with a warrior's body. Right then, our hero's current guard, Shuo Chuo, appeared, and he decided to follow him. The other generals remarked that our hero was still far too young, even if he were of the cow line. Yet the guard convinced them, bowed, and admitted he could no longer fight, pleading with them to protect the cow lineage by offering his life. The generals replied that all they could do was follow our hero. Suddenly, Shuo Chuo grabbed Yan, the guard of Luo. At that moment, a group of people somewhere was watching a huge surge of energy emanating from afar. One of them said that the energy came from the breaking of the sacred pagoda tree guarded by the cow family, its source located in cow lands. Another predicted that the tree's breaking would spark enormous chaos. After the pagoda tree was removed from Rakshasa Street, massive turmoil erupted in the realm of ghosts. Souls were carried away, and the name charms of the cow family were destroyed. At that moment, the energy was pulling Liang away as well. When Xiab held on to Liang, he admitted that he was actually a spirit. She told him that she would save him whether he were a spirit or a human. Right then, she wished for our hero to appear so they could be saved together, as he was desperately needed. Meanwhile, on the battlefield with Shuo Chuo, our hero wondered why the monster was healing so fast. He then suggested that Shuo Chuo target it with fire, and Shuo Chuo created a ring of flames around the creature. At that moment, our hero used the Yama cannon, the very device that had cost our previous hero's guard his spirit in order to free him. He fired a shot, and suddenly Shuo Chuo disappeared, leaving our hero stunned. He quickly hoped that Liang would be safe. Meanwhile, as Xiab clung to Liang trying to save him, Hill was telling Xiab's guard to keep creating chaos and join the kingdom organization. And as the guard began stirring up even more mayhem, Hill felt delighted, while Liang was about to withdraw, continuing to tell Xiab that nothing would change and he couldn't hold on any longer. Events escalated quickly. Our hero went to look for Guifu Santong only to discover that he had been killed, apparently about 3 months earlier. However, Guifu had left a horrifying message written in blood, stating that the envoy had been ambushed, seriously injured, and was trapped. He had a premonition that he might not survive, so he left the message to show that the organization wasn't the only secret force, as a new power had emerged in a new era of three-sided confrontations. After reading the message, our hero left immediately. Meanwhile, Hill tried grabbing Xiab's leg to unbalance her, but she instead grabbed him by the hair. They exchanged words. She pleaded with him to take her along, but he said he only wanted her, and not that useless child. She retorted that she wouldn't leave him, even if it cost her life, and he told her not to blame him for his harshness. Suddenly, he released an energy burst from his hand that sent Liang flying away. Xiab then ran after him. Soon enough, our hero appeared and grabbed his hand, assuring him he wouldn't let Liang die again. Xiab said that our hero had come just in time, while Hill warned him not to get too happy too quickly, because the battle wasn't over yet. Curious about the new arrival, our hero asked who he was. Liang explained that his name was Hill, the same troublemaker causing havoc on Rakshasa Street that no one could stop. Consequently, he asked Xiab to take a bite from a branch of the sacred tree. Xiab apologized, and he then asked her to take care of her brother before heading off toward Hill. A challenge began between Hill and our hero. Hill declared that he was extremely strong and promised to show our hero his high-level host power. Proudly, our hero replied that he was the master of Rakshasa Street. Suddenly, Hill merged with a three-headed monster, which convinced our hero that this monster was Hill's personal guard. Hill then transformed into an enormous figure and began fighting our hero. Not long after, Shuo Chuo arrived, apologizing for his delay. Our hero asked him to go subdue the troublesome guard while he would handle Hill. As Shuo Chuo grabbed Hill's collar, Xiab pleaded with him not to be too harsh because the man was her guardian spirit. Meanwhile, Hill warned our hero that he shouldn't expect any mercy later. Suddenly, our hero summoned another larger guardian spirit and warned Hill not to underestimate it. When Hill saw the guardian spirit, our hero teased him about being surprised. After all, a person could have more than one guardian spirit. Hill skeptically asked if he was the body of the legendary warrior. Then the battle intensified, and soon Hill's guardian spirit abandoned him, leading to its defeat at the hands of the warrior our hero had summoned, who called him a coward for risking his guardian spirit. At that moment, our hero asked Hill to support Shuo Chuo, while he himself would face Hill. He then asked Hill if he wanted to continue fighting, but Hill was in shock. Our hero then let him in on a secret. There were 7 guardian general spirits. Hill left, vowing that the organization would not give up their revenge by any means. Suddenly, Guifu Santong appeared and ended all the chaos, restoring calm to Rakshasa Street. When Xiab asked why he was late, our hero told her that he had been impersonating Guifu Santong, since he'd discovered that Gifu had already been killed. She then asked if he was the one who killed him, and he replied that he had caught him. Then he confessed that he'd finally gotten what he wanted. Our hero said that demolishing the pagoda tree required heavenly power, which is why he had used Xiab's guardian spirit, because that was what he'd wanted all along. Gifu remarked that the world was very small, and there were still many forces he'd have to deal with. Xiab was saddened, feeling like a tool used to get rid of the pagoda tree. Gifu told her not to be sad because the tree could be restored. According to legend, if any of the 4 divine trees were damaged, they could be revived by gathering the roots of the sacred pagoda tree, the fruit of the dragon peach tree, the leaves of the imperial poplar, and the hibiscus flower, simply by visiting all the other Rakshasa streets. Xiab was amazed and commented that only God knew how many years that task would take. He replied that it wasn't his business. As he departed, our hero asked if he really thought he could leave that easily. Guifu replied that he knew he was exhausted from summoning 2 guardian spirits. He also advised him not to push himself further, since Xiab's guard was extremely complicated. Suddenly, an explosion expelled the evil spirits, and Xiab's guard fell to the ground. It then awoke completely calm, stood before her, gently touched her face, and said he never thought he'd ever meet anyone like her. Xiab quickly asked about the elixir of revival, and he explained that he had given it to someone else some time ago. At that moment, our hero felt a deep sadness, remarking that everything that had happened was just a waste of time. Guifu then said there must be a big story behind him abandoning the elixir of revival that took 1,000 years to make. When Xiab apologized to our hero, Liang told her there was no reason for the kingdom organization to hold on to her. She could return to the human world and live there, but she surprised everyone by saying she would fix the pagoda tree, since it was her guardian spirit that had damaged it. Then she apologized for all the trouble caused, and her guard at that moment promised he would always protect her, even though he didn't know what had happened. He also introduced himself as Li. That evening, neither Liang nor our hero could sleep. Our hero remarked that the foolish woman claimed she would repair the pagoda tree, but he would do it himself. Liang reminded him that he was a spirit and couldn't leave Rakshasa Street, so our hero asked him to simply protect the street. The story then shifts back to the past, where Liang grabbed the bomba cannon and began fighting against General Luo. Events sped up rapidly. The guard Luo lost his strength and began fading away. In mere moments, he disappeared in front of Luo, who nearly lost his composure, and Liang threw him out of Rakshasa Street. When Luo found himself in the human world, he started brawling with people, but they beat him up. At that moment, Shuo Chuo asked Liang why he had let Luo live, and Liang replied that it would be his punishment. Returning to the present, Liang asked our hero to accompany Xiab to change the world. The next day, Xiab asked Liang for the address of the entrance to the other streets, wondering if she could return to the human world and catch a plane there. Suddenly, our hero appeared and told her there was no other way except to cross the border and go through each street one by one. She looked at his clothes in amazement, and he explained that his outfit was a psychological suit made from the guardian spirit's energy, and it would protect him in the other streets. She asked if he would go with her, but he ignored her question and advised her that if she didn't want to die quickly, she should ask her own guardian spirit to make a suit like his. She then asked Li if he could do that, and he quickly made one for her and dressed her. Meanwhile, Liang asked his brother if he had finally decided to leave. His brother confirmed he would, and Liang replied that he would wait for him. The narrative shifts again to the past, where Liang ended his fight with Luo and waited with Shuo Chuo for 7 nights for his brother's spirit, our hero, to return. When Shuo Chuo tried to remind him that 7 nights had passed, Liang said that this was the place where spirits returned, and surely his brother's spirit would come back. Soon enough, Guifu Santong appeared, saying he had been sent from the Ghost Kingdom to make a deal. Suddenly, his brother appeared from behind, and Liang embraced him, declaring that his spirit had returned. At that moment, Guifu informed him that he would take him to the Island of Death, so Liang went with him, crying. The events return to the present, where our hero takes off General Cheetah's chain and puts it on Liang, telling him that since childhood he had dreamed of guarding Rakshasa Street. The scene then shifts to Liang's past, when he began visiting his brother from time to time, growing rapidly. Meanwhile, the events indicate that when our hero regained his soul, he lived in Liang's body, and the two of them swapped bodies. Thus, our hero grew up while Liang remained at his young age. This is why Xiaozhu followed Liang,